You're watching Forsaken Joe. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy the story. Let's begin.
I had this sinking feeling on the way to the lake, but I ignored it. Sunday fishing trips were supposed to be our thing. We talked about it for weeks. Amanda was going to spend the whole day with me, unplugged, just us and the water. But when we pulled into the parking lot, I knew something was off. I set up everything: coolers, rods, the tackle box. Even packed her favorite snacks: chocolate, trail mix, the fancy jerky she liked. The lake shimmered under a perfect sun, and I felt that little buzz of excitement that comes with a day off, the chance to actually spend time together. But Amanda, she didn't even glance at the water. She was glued to her phone, her fingers flying over the screen. I said something about the weather, just trying to start a conversation. Nothing, just a distracted hum and a half smile. Old friends, she told me when I asked who she was texting. Just catching up. Old friends? Eli, Cody, and Josh. Those were the names she always mentioned. And I knew that's all they were to her now. Friends. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something more was happening. Something that didn't involve me. I pulled my line in, the reel humming a warning as a fish snapped at the bait. Before I could react, the damn thing yanked so hard it nearly dragged my pole into the water. Amanda didn't even look up. "Babe," I said, more annoyed than I wanted to admit. "I almost lost my pole." She mumbled something about being busy, barely lifting her eyes from the screen. I didn't even know why I bothered trying to get her attention anymore. As the day dragged on, I kept my head down. I didn't say much. She didn't either. At some point, she took a selfie. Just her, no sign of me in the background, her smile too wide. The caption, "Me time is the best time. Me time." I felt my stomach twist, but I kept it together. We packed up and headed home. Amanda scrolling, texting, laughing at whatever joke Josh had just sent her. She never even noticed when I took the long way home, the quiet in the car thickening between us. She'd gotten so good at ignoring me, I wasn't even sure she remembered what it was like to look at me anymore. I don't know why I thought things might be different once we were back at the house. Maybe I thought she'd snap out of it, that something about the lake would have reset her. But it didn't. Amanda went straight to the couch, phone in hand, scrolling like nothing had happened. I made dinner, even though she'd been quiet the whole way home. I didn't ask what was wrong, didn't press her. I didn't want to make it worse. But as I plated the food, I caught her giggling at something on her screen. Eli, Cody, Josh, I don't know which one. She didn't even notice I was standing there, waiting for her to look up and say something. Anything. That would make me feel like she was still here with me. But she didn't. So I ate alone, and I started timing it. The silence. The way she didn't even acknowledge me anymore when I walked through the door. The longest stretch I counted was 47 minutes. Felt like a damn lifetime. 47 minutes of me sitting in the same room, wondering when she'd look up, when she'd even notice me again. I tried talking to her a few times. Small stuff at first. "How was your day?" I asked one night, trying to start a conversation. "Just a sec," she mumbled, eyes still locked on her phone. I didn't say anything after that. It was like speaking into a void. But after a week of this, I asked again, a little more pointed, "Are you okay?" She didn't even look up from her screen. "Eli's going through something. I have to be here for him." Eli. Again. I bit my tongue. I didn't ask how I was doing. How maybe I needed her. I didn't even get the chance. She kept talking, her voice distracted, like she wasn't even aware of me sitting 2 feet away. These guys really get me, Mike. They listen, you know? I wanted to laugh, or maybe cry. It was all so painfully obvious. She didn't get me. Not anymore. Jax, our dog, was the only one who seemed to get it. Every night, without fail, he'd curl up beside me on the couch. He wasn't interested in Amanda. He just wanted to be near me, resting his head on my lap like he knew something was off. Meanwhile, Amanda, she'd barely even look at him anymore. The way she used to call him over, laugh when he jumped up to snuggle with her, it was like a different person. I sat on the edge of the couch one night, after another failed attempt to get her attention. "Are you okay?" I asked, trying to keep the frustration out of my voice. She didn't even glance up, "You're overthinking everything," she said. Her fingers flew across the screen, and I felt my patience snap. I opened my mouth to say something, but the words stuck in my throat. What was the point? She was too far gone. Too wrapped up in these guys, Eli, Cody, Josh. Whatever drama they were sharing, whatever they were offering her, it was more than what I had to give. I looked down at Jax, curled up beside me. He was the only one who seemed to still care. Amanda finally looked at me, her eyes a little too bright. "Why are you making such a big deal out of this? It's just texting. Just some friends. I need them right now." And there it was. Just a few words, but it said everything I needed to hear. She didn't need me anymore. I had planned the whole damn thing right down to the details. Our anniversary. A private barbecue session with one of the best grill masters in the area. It was something Amanda and I used to love before everything started to unravel. I thought it'd be the perfect reset. Just the two of us, the smell of wood smoke in the air, fresh cuts of meat on the grill. No distractions. No phones. Just us. But it was already clear from the moment we got there that it wouldn't be what I had imagined. I could barely get a word out before she was already on her phone. I figured maybe she was texting her friends, the usual suspects, Eli, Cody, and Josh. Whatever, I thought. She's here. That's something. But she stayed on that damn screen, even when the grill master started talking, showing us how to prepare the ribs. His instructions didn't even register for her. She didn't even glance at the grill. I felt this tight knot form in my chest. I tried to hold it in, tried to tell myself it was just one night. But it wasn't. It had been months of this. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I tried to make a joke. Something lighthearted, but it came out all wrong. "Can you put it down just for tonight? Just once?" She looked up from her phone, eyebrow arched like I had asked her to perform brain surgery. "You're being clingy, Mike," she said, a little laugh escaping her lips. "It's not a big deal. I'm just checking in on the guys." The guys. The same guys she'd been disappearing into texts with for the last few months. The same guys she compared me to every damn time. The chef grinned and shook his head, trying to keep things light. I didn't say anything. I just stood there watching her tap away at the screen. I wanted to say something. I wanted to scream at her. Tell her how stupid this whole thing felt. How pathetic it was. Me standing here alone in a crowded restaurant with her texting some guy. But instead, I stood there, a knot tightening in my stomach. We had dinner, and the whole time, she kept her phone within arm's reach. The food was great, unreal actually. Tender meat, smoky flavor. It should have been one of those nights we remembered for years. But all I could focus on was the flicker of her screen. When dessert came out, I barely noticed the taste. It was just something to chew while she kept talking about Josh's workplace drama and how Eli had finally gotten his life together. It was all surface-level shit. Nothing about us, nothing about how I was feeling. And then, just like that, she leaned back in her chair and, with a grin that felt way too sharp, said, "You're too needy, Mike. Josh never acts like this." That was it. My gut twisted like a hand around my insides. Josh never acts like this. The words echoed in my mind, over and over again. I didn't say anything on the ride home. I wanted to, but I didn't trust myself not to snap. What was there to say anyway? She had made herself clear. I pulled into the driveway, the engine idling for a moment as I tried to hold myself together. Amanda, without missing a beat, grabbed her purse, started texting again. Probably Josh, probably one of the other guys. And I just let it go. When I walked inside, I didn't bother with the usual good night or kiss on the cheek. I didn't even look at her. I walked straight past the couch, grabbed a blanket, and collapsed on the couch. I didn't want to sleep next to her. I didn't want to hear her breath or feel her body next to mine. Not tonight. I stayed there, staring at the ceiling in the dark, until I finally drifted off. The sound of her typing, her laughter at whatever meme or joke she'd gotten from one of them, still echoed in my head. The next morning, I woke up on the couch, stiff from the awkward position I'd fallen asleep in. I looked at the clock. It was nearly noon. I got up, grabbed a glass of water, and then walked into the living room. Amanda was still in bed, still asleep, her phone tucked under the pillow like some kind of lifeline. I didn't bother waking her up. She didn't even notice I wasn't there. I don't know why that hit me so hard, but it did. The fact that she couldn't even be bothered to notice. That she wouldn't even check to see if I was still around. I went out to the kitchen to make coffee. The silence between us was so thick I couldn't even hear the hum of the refrigerator. Maybe I was overthinking it, but at that moment, I knew this wasn't just a phase. She wasn't coming back to me. She didn't notice I'd slept on the couch. Didn't care. And that right there told me everything I needed to know. It was the next night. I could feel myself getting to that edge again. That place where I was either going to completely lose it or just shut down for good. I decided to try again. Maybe it was stupid. Maybe I was wasting my breath, but I couldn't help it. I wanted to fix this even if it wasn't possible anymore. I waited until after dinner. Amanda was in the living room, her phone glued to her hand, as usual. She barely even noticed I was still standing in the kitchen, the smell of leftover lasagna hanging in the air. Finally, I took a deep breath, wiped my hands on my jeans, and walked in. "Amanda," I said, trying to sound calm, measured, like this was a normal conversation. "We need to talk." She didn't look up. Her fingers tapped the screen furiously. She muttered, barely acknowledging me. I sat across from her, close enough to feel her presence but far enough to keep a little distance. I was thinking, maybe we could try something. Just for the evenings. No phones at dinner. No texting. Just us, you know? She didn't say anything for a few seconds, her eyes still fixed on the screen. Then, her lips curled into that familiar, condescending smile. "You're kidding, right? You're serious about this?" I tried not to let my frustration show. I wasn't angry yet, not completely. I just wanted her to see it, to understand. "I'm serious. Look, I feel like I'm losing you. I miss us." Her eyes finally met mine, but only for a second. Long enough for her to roll them. "Mike, I'm not a kid. I can't just turn everything off because you think it's a problem." I swallowed, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's not about controlling you. It's about, I just want to spend time with you. Time without distractions. Is that really so much to ask?" She snorted, shaking her head, and then shifted uncomfortably in her seat. "You're trying to control me, Mike. You're trying to cut me off from my support system. Eli is going through a divorce. I have to be there for him." Eli, again. He was always going through something, always needing her. The guy's life was a damn soap opera, and she was playing the lead role, always there to answer his texts, to support him. I clenched my fists, but I tried to stay calm. "I'm not asking you to ignore your friends, Amanda. I just want us to have a few hours where we're not constantly checking our phones, where you're actually present with me." She crossed her arms, pulling her phone closer to her chest like it was some kind of shield. "You're just jealous," she said, her voice cold, dismissive. "I need to be there for Eli. He's going through a hard time, and you should understand that." My chest tightened. "What about me? When was the last time you were actually there for me, Amanda?" Her eyes flickered for a second, but she quickly looked back at her screen. "You're a grown man, Mike. You'll figure it out. I'm not your problem." I let her words hang in the air. It felt like a slap, cold and sharp, and it hurt more than I wanted to admit. I had known deep down that she was slipping away, but hearing it like that, it shattered something inside me. I tried to keep my voice even. "I just want you to look at me, talk to me, be here. Is that too much?" She didn't answer. Not at first. Her fingers were already moving across the screen, typing away to whoever was waiting on the other end. Eli, Cody, or Josh. Probably one of them was having some kind of emotional crisis, and she had to be there for it. And that was when it happened. Right then. She couldn't even look at me when I asked her to. She couldn't even stop for a second to hear what I was saying. I watched her eyes flick to the screen, her lips curving into another smile. But this time it didn't feel like anything but a hollow gesture. She wasn't hearing me anymore. She wasn't even pretending. I stood up without saying anything else. I couldn't stay there, Not when I felt like I was choking on the distance between us. I walked out of the living room, down the hall, and shut the bedroom door behind me, the quiet a painful reminder of how far gone she was. I didn't feel relief. I didn't feel anything but numb. That was the moment I knew. There was no fixing this. She had already chosen. And it wasn't me. The call came at work. It was my boss, Greg. "Mike," he said, his voice low and serious. "I've got a proposition for you." I didn't expect anything big, just the usual, but when he mentioned the position running diagnostics for a chain of auto shops, covering 3 states, I sat up straight. The offer was more than tempting. A raise, better hours, full benefits. But it was the location that hit me, Kansas. Clean break. No more staying in a house that didn't feel like home. No more pretending. I didn't need to think about it. I said yes. I didn't tell Amanda. I don't know why I didn't, maybe because I was already done. Maybe because telling her would make it real, and I wasn't ready to face that. So, I started planning my escape in the quiet spaces between my life with her. I spent the next few days searching for apartments in Kansas. I found a small 1-bedroom place in a quiet neighborhood. Perfect. Not too fancy, but enough for me to breathe again. I signed the lease online. Then I called a moving company and set everything up piece by piece under the radar. I'd pack up whatever I could when she wasn't around. She didn't notice. She was too busy with her phone, the texts from Cody about his latest crypto drama, or Josh's endless workplace beef. Whatever the hell that meant. It was always something, and she was always there, right in the middle of it. I spent nights packing up books, old tools, random boxes of crap that had gathered dust in the garage over the years. Slowly, quietly, piece by piece, I took my life out of that house. I'd sneak things into the storage unit, barely getting the door shut before she'd walk by, completely unaware. Amanda didn't even ask where I was going anymore. She didn't notice when I'd pull out of the driveway at odd hours, when I'd say I had weekend shifts to cover. Her phone buzzed through the house every night. Every single night. She never looked up from it. Never asked who it was or where I was headed. It didn't matter. There was no need for explanations anymore. I knew, and she knew, that the space between us had already grown too wide for either of us to close. I spent the next few weeks living in that numb haze, moving more stuff out of the house while she sat in the living room, talking to Eli, Cody, and Josh, filling the air with empty conversations and fake laughter, always texting, always plugged in, always checked out of whatever was left of us. One afternoon, while she was in the bathroom, I loaded up the last of my tools. The house felt different, quieter somehow. But it wasn't peaceful. It was suffocating. I closed the door behind me as I slipped the keys into my pocket, thinking about how I'd never see that house the same way again. That night, I didn't say a word to Amanda. She was on the couch, scrolling through her phone again. She didn't even notice when I got into the car, didn't ask where I was going. I just pulled out of the driveway and didn't look back. When I signed the lease, I didn't feel relief, not right away. But the thought of a new life, of leaving all the empty words and silence behind, that gave me a kind of calm. Clean break. I could breathe again. It happened when I wasn't expecting it, like everything else. One evening, I was grabbing a quick bite at a bar with my cousin, catching up before the move, when I saw the notification on my phone, a tag on Facebook. I opened it expecting some dumb meme or random update. But it wasn't. It was a photo. A picture of me, sitting at the table, my face a little tired but smiling, surrounded by a couple of friends. "Goodbye dinner for Mike." My cousin had captioned it. I froze. The last thing I expected was for Amanda to see it. She didn't even know I was leaving until that moment. I hadn't told her, and I didn't plan to. I had made the choice for myself. But now she'd find out. The phone buzzed almost immediately after I saw the post, her name flashing on the screen. My stomach dropped. I already knew what was coming. I answered, trying to keep my voice steady. "Hey, are you seriously leaving?" The words were sharp, a little panicked, a little hurt. I didn't say anything for a second. What could I say? She was asking a question she already knew the answer to. I don't even get it," she continued, her voice shaking now. "You didn't say anything. Why wouldn't you talk to me about this? Why the hell wouldn't you tell me?" I took a breath, leaning back against the counter. I tried to tell you, Amanda. Remember that night I brought up the job offer? I told you about the raise, the move, the new opportunity. She fell silent for a second, and I could hear her breathing on the other end of the line. Yeah, and I was dealing with Josh's stuff. I didn't have time to listen to your job talk. Her voice was defensive, but I could hear the cracks in it. I clenched my jaw. Exactly. You were too busy with Josh's problems to even hear me. I don't know what you want from me, but I'm done trying to make you care. She didn't take that well. You're sneaky. You're emotionally abusive, Mike. You're leaving without telling me, planning everything behind my back. That's not fair. You didn't even give me a chance to talk about it. My stomach turned. I couldn't believe the words coming out of her mouth. This was the same woman who had spent months glued to her phone, laughing at jokes with Eli, texting Cody about his crypto investments. Now suddenly I was the one being sneaky? Really? I said, my voice colder than I meant it to be. You want to talk about sneaky? I've been here, trying to talk to you for months, and you just keep ignoring me. I've been sitting next to you, watching you text Josh while I'm right there. I've been talking to a wall for how long? Amanda? Every time I asked for your attention, for just a minute you were too busy. I could hear her breathing get heavier, a crack in her defense. I didn't mean to. No, you didn't mean to, but you did. I cut in, my words sharper now. You chose him over me, over us, every single time. There was silence on the line for a while. I let her sit with it. I wasn't the one running away anymore. She had been for months. She just didn't want to face it. When she finally spoke again, her voice was quieter, more desperate. Mike, please, I'll do better. I'll make time for you. Just don't leave. Please. I closed my eyes for a second. She didn't get it. She didn't understand. She thought saying the right things could fix everything. Couldn't. I grabbed the apartment key from my pocket and looked at it for a second. The quiet weight of it in my hand felt final. You've had chances, Amanda. I gave you all the chances I had. I can't do this anymore. I stood up, walked to the door, and opened it slowly. I'm done. I didn't say anything else. I didn't need to. I held out the key, watching her face on the other end of the line fall. Take it. I'm not coming back. She didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. I hung up, standing there in the doorway for a moment, wondering if I was making the biggest mistake of my life, or the smartest decision I'd ever made. The day I moved out, I knew it was going to be messy, but I wasn't prepared for how ugly it would get. The moving crew showed up at 8 a.m. Exactly when I asked them to, and I had everything ready, boxes stacked, furniture wrapped up. I was calm. Too calm, maybe. I wasn't in a rush. This wasn't something I needed to drag out. I'd been preparing for this day for months, and now I was ready to let go. Then Amanda showed up, looking like she had just rolled out of bed, phone already in hand. She didn't even greet me at first. She just stood in the doorway, her eyes darting around the room, watching the movers start to load up. You're really doing this, Mike? Her voice was shaky, but I could hear the anger in it. You're really just going to take everything and leave? Before I could answer, I heard the doorbell ring. 3 guys stepped into the house, all of them a little awkward, like they weren't sure why they were even there. Eli, Cody, and Josh. Amanda's voice shot up, almost pleading. They're here to support me, okay? She didn't look at them as she said it, but I saw the way she stepped closer to Eli like he was some kind of buffer between us. I wasn't sure whether to laugh or feel disgusted. Support her? Support her through what? A bad decision? She was the one who had checked out of this relationship long before I ever packed up a box. Cody, of course, had a 6-pack of beer tucked under his arm, as if this was some kind of party. Josh, the ever-present observer, had a camera with him, holding it up like he was waiting for a vlog-worthy moment. I didn't say anything to them. They weren't the ones I had to talk to. I nodded to the movers and started directing them. That one first, then the couch. Then we'll move the kitchen stuff. The crew didn't ask questions. They just did their job, moving through the house like they had done it 1,000 times before. Amanda stood there, watching, getting more agitated by the second. You can't just take everything, Mike. Some of this is mine. I need that stuff. She wasn't even looking at me when she said it. She was looking at the movers, probably hoping they'd listen to her. The fridge, she added, trying to stop one of the guys as he wheeled it out the door. That's mine. You don't cook anymore, Amanda? I interrupted, my voice flat. You haven't touched that stove in months. Her mouth opened to protest, but no sound came out. She looked like she was going to say something, but she just turned back to the guys, eyes flicking between the movers and the growing stack of boxes outside. She was scrambling for anything, any excuse to hold on to something. The guys started to pick up the last of the furniture, and I could see the panic setting in on Amanda's face when they made their way to the couch. She'd been sleeping on it for weeks, ever since we'd stopped sleeping in the same bed. It had become her space, her little corner in the house that she could control. She stepped forward, hands outstretched. Mike, please, you can't take that. I need it. I didn't look at her. I didn't have to. I knew what she was doing. I think one of your friends has room on theirs, I said flatly, as the movers started to load the couch. I hope they don't mind. Her eyes flashed, desperate now. You can't be serious. You can't be. You're just... She trailed off, too upset to finish. Goodbye, Amanda, I said. It's done. I didn't wait for her to respond. I walked past her, out the door, toward the truck. She didn't call after me. She didn't ask for one last word. She didn't even try to stop me. I didn't know if she was too stunned to speak or if she just didn't care anymore. Either way, it didn't matter. I had made my choice. She had made hers. The truck pulled away, and I looked in the rearview mirror as the house shrank in the distance. I didn't feel relief. I didn't feel angry. I just felt empty. The kind of empty that settles in your chest when you realize you've been giving, and there's nothing left for you to hold on to. Couldn't go back. I had already let her go a long time ago. The road ahead was mine. Kansas was quiet. I settled into the one-bedroom place in a neighborhood that felt like a fresh start. The kind of place where the traffic noise didn't hang in the air like a constant hum, where the neighbors waved but didn't linger too long. It was clean, simple, and completely mine. There was something about the simplicity of it that I loved. No old memories to sift through. No ghosts in the walls. I threw myself into work. The hours were longer, the pace faster, but it felt good to get lost in it. No more waiting for texts that never came. No more asking for attention that was always given to someone else. The people here didn't know me, didn't know what had happened, and I liked it that way. It was just me and the job. But even in a place like this, I couldn't help but feel the pull of loneliness. I wasn't sure I was ready to jump into anything serious, but I missed connection. So I started dating again. Slowly at first. Dinners, drinks, casual conversations, nothing serious. Then I met Ellie. She was a barista at a local coffee shop. I had gone in one morning, half asleep, just needing caffeine. She smiled at me, handed me my coffee, and for the first time in a while, I felt like someone was actually looking at me. Not in that way where people look at you and immediately check their phones. No, she saw me like I was real. A few days later, I came back for another coffee. This time, she asked if I wanted to sit down. We talked about everything, work, the weather, and somehow motorcycles. Turns out she was a rider. She even volunteered at the animal shelter on the weekends, helping out with dogs that needed homes. We went on our first date the next weekend. A little diner on the edge of town. The kind of place that didn't rush you, that didn't expect you to order the moment you sat down. Just a booth and the hum of old conversations in the background. The first thing I noticed was her phone. It stayed in her bag for the entire meal. Not once did it buzz or ring in front of her. I could hardly believe it. She was there, completely present, not checking the screen every few minutes, not distracted by whatever message or notification was coming through. We talked for hours, about stupid stuff and serious stuff. We laughed, and I felt like a weight I hadn't even realized was there started to lift off me. For the first time in forever, I didn't feel invisible. I wasn't fighting for her attention. She was just there, and that was enough. At the end of the night, When we said goodbye, she gave me a hug, and I noticed something. Her smile wasn't just polite. It was real. She was happy to have spent time with me. We started seeing each other regularly after that. Dates, walks in the park, motorcycle rides. With Ellie, I didn't have to ask for space. She offered it, and it wasn't something I had to beg for or try to fight for. She made time for me without me needing to push or remind her. I never felt like an afterthought. The more time I spent with her, the more I realized what I had been missing all this time. She didn't need to fill the silence with a phone screen. She didn't need to check in with a dozen people while we were sitting right in front of each other. It was just easy. She was there. She was enough. And for the first time in a long while, I felt like I was enough too. It had been months since I left. Months of peace. I had settled into a rhythm, work, Ellie, the quiet of a life that was finally mine. The noise of the past, the mess with Amanda, seemed far away. But then, like clockwork, she started popping up again. It started with emails, 1, then 2, then 3. All the same. Apologies. Explanations. Half-baked therapy jargon about growth and healing. She claimed she was better now, that she had been working on herself and that everything was different. But the tone of them, it was clear. She wasn't writing to apologize. She was trying to reclaim something she had no right to. Then the fake accounts started. First, I thought it was just spam. I'd delete them without a second thought. But when one of them sent a message to my office, pretending to be my sister, I knew it wasn't random. My sister, Mia, called me one afternoon, her voice tight with concern. "Mike, you need to know something. Amanda showed up at my place this morning. She looked like hell. No makeup, hair all over the place, like she hadn't slept in days. She asked me for your address." I felt my stomach drop. I couldn't imagine what she was trying to do. Show up at my sister's house like that. It was a sick kind of desperation, and it felt like everything I had worked so hard to leave behind was crawling back into my life. The next email came a week later. This one was longer, full of buzzwords like personal evolution, emotional clarity, and unconditional love. It was nauseating. She talked about how she had found herself, and that she was planning to move to Kansas to be with me, to win me back. There were paragraphs about how she had changed, about how her relationship with Eli, Cody, and Josh had taught her to appreciate real connections. The whole thing was so full of self-serving crap, it made my skin crawl. I stared at the screen for a moment, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. Then I forwarded it to Ellie with the subject line, "For laughs." Ellie didn't even hesitate when she opened it. She burst out laughing almost immediately. We read through the email together, out loud, as if it were some bad soap opera. Every over-the-top line, every ridiculous claim, felt like it was written by someone who had no real understanding of what had happened. It was so absurd that it became funny. I watched Ellie's face as she read the email, her eyes widening at the ridiculousness, and then she laughed until tears started to fall. "God," she said, wiping her eyes. "This is like a Lifetime movie. Please, tell me she's not serious." "I don't know, but she's trying." I leaned back in my chair, taking a deep breath, trying to feel the relief that should have come with the laughter. But I didn't feel anything except the weight of it all. How much I had tried to move on, only to have her drag me back into the mess. When the laughter died down, Ellie handed me the phone. I opened a new message, my hands moving without thinking. The words clear in my mind, the only words that needed to be said. "Please do not contact me." I hit send before I could second-guess myself. I closed the laptop, my heart thumping in my chest. It was over. I had been clear, and if she couldn't understand that, then that was on her. Ellie sat next to me, her hand on mine. We didn't need to say anything else. We both knew what that message meant. Amanda wasn't going to get the chance to drag me back into her world. Not anymore. It had been a year since I hit send on that email to Amanda, and in that time, everything had changed. I was engaged to Ellie now, living with her in a modest 2-bedroom house just outside of town. The place was cozy, nothing fancy, but it felt like home. We had a dog, Lucky, who was a mutt with too much energy and a heart too big for his little body. He spent most of his days running laps around the yard, just like Ellie and I had spent the last year running through life side by side. My parents adored her. My mom especially. She was always commenting on how Ellie made me smile more, how my whole demeanor had shifted since we'd started dating. It was simple things like the way Ellie would laugh at the silly jokes I made or how she'd kiss me on the cheek when she thought I wasn't looking. But my mom's words one afternoon sealed everything for me. She looks at you when you speak. That stuck. Because it wasn't just about how Ellie cared. It was about how she saw me. Really saw me. She listened. She was present. I had my phone on the counter while we made dinner that evening. The buzz of a new notification vibrated through it. Another message from an email address I recognized. Amanda. I didn't even have to open it. I deleted it. Blocked the email address. It wasn't the first time she'd reached out, and it wouldn't be the last. Every few weeks, she'd pop up with some sob story. Some, I miss you or I've changed message. Each one, just a desperate plea for attention, for something she thought she could get back. But I had moved on. There was nothing left for me to give her. Ellie was at the kitchen sink, watering the plants we'd bought together last summer. Succulents that now seemed to be thriving under her care. She hummed a little tune to herself, and I just stood there for a moment watching her. Peace wasn't something I had ever thought about much. Not until I found it here, in this life, with her. I watched her move, her gentle focus on the little things. The plants, the way she always made sure to water them just enough, not too much. Felt like that was how she cared for me, too. Not too little, not too much, just enough. As I watched her, I thought to myself, turns out, peace is loudest when it's shared with someone who's actually there. Ellie looked up from the plants and caught me staring, a smile tugging at her lips. What's going on in that head of yours? She asked. I shook my head, my smile soft. Nothing, I said, walking over and wrapping my arms around her. Just how lucky I am. She leaned into me, resting her head on my shoulder. I felt the weight of everything I had been carrying for so long finally slip away. There was no noise, no distractions, just us. I used to beg for attention. Now I don't even have to ask.